You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Palace of Mega Pencils. This is Super Mega Crash Brothers Turbo!
Hello and welcome to Super Mega Crash Brothers Turbo. I'm your host, Stephen White. With me, as always, is my co-host, Lacey Finley.
Oh, well, happy Monday.
And siblings, if you didn't yesterday, today you need to be wishing my sis Lace a belated birthday.
Belated birthday, yes.
You know, I don't know how I've never noticed, but we are technically 2 weeks apart.
Exactly.
Exactly 2 weeks apart. Because... How have we, in the time we've known each other, I don't know why this has never occurred to me.
I knew our birthdays were close together, obviously, in the same month anyway. But yeah, I think this was the first time where it just dawned on me that it was exactly 2 weeks apart since we were both landing on a Sunday.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, yeah.
And you know, speaking of that, since we were talking about how long we've known each other, I stumbled, like my phone likes to remind me of things.
Oh,
and,
sure.
You know, it's just like, hey, you got some photos you need to look back on 5 years ago. And I was like, 5 years ago? And this date? I wonder what it is. And it was our very first meeting at TwitchCon back on Long Beach. All the photos and everything like that. And I was like, oh, yeah, simpler times.
Oh, I did still have some of the pictures of us just like sitting out on the boat.
Mm-hmm.
We were just chatting and watching whatever out over the water.
Wow, I'm going to have to see those because I don't think I have any photos like that.
I think I have two, but it was whatever we were looking at. But I just knew you were there because we had wandered off for some peace and quiet for a moment.
Yeah. You're right there.
And then we just sat down on the edge of the hotel boat thing that we were at and just sat there for like an hour, I don't know, until other people were like, where'd they go? And then we're like, all right, we're coming back.
Yeah. Well, it was only one person that seemed to be
that's fair
pursuing us on a regular basis.
Yes.
We were just trying to chat, you know, and we had like a chauffeur, but we won't get into that. Anyway.
I think I've learned now. I just need moments of recharge. That's it.
Yeah.
If I'm wandering off, it has nothing to do with the people there. I need my moment.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It got a lot. And, you know, funny enough, I didn't realize how important the place we were, or at least where I stayed, because I was like a nomad. I had nowhere to go. I had nowhere to stay. I was just in town going, I guess I'm just going to leech. And luckily I got to stay on the boat. But that was the Queen Mary. I didn't realize how big that was. You know, it was like, oh yeah, we're staying on a boat and it's like a hotel. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then I start looking into it after the fact. It was like, no, this is an important historic landmark. And I was like, holy shit, that's awesome.
Yeah,
so,
it was a cool boat. I mean, obviously everything was super small when you got inside to the rooms and everything. But
still,
I guess you're technically not supposed to just stay in your room when you're out somewhere visiting, right? Just walking around the boat was cool.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing all the stuff they had hanging up was cool, you know, reading all that. So, yeah, it was a neat little idea.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. Just the atmosphere, even like when we were sitting out on the what do you call it? The main, because there's a nautical term, you know, for the
like
boat.
Port side? No, that's probably like left or right?
Starboard.
Sure.
Maybe.
Starboard sounds good.
The deck.
Port the butt. I don't know.
We're not pirates. We're not seafaring people.
We do not.
Anyway, we were at
a rowboat.
We were on the front of the boat, and it was like early morning. Sun's coming up right on the ocean, and it was just like the best. And I even got a picture of that. It was just like the best view that I've ever had. And I was like, I could just soak this up all day. This is amazing. And in fact, I probably could have just enjoyed that as opposed to going to TwitchCon because, oh my God,
Which we probably did.
for the most
feel
part.
it was the
we
year
tried.
we got in, though, right? And it wasn't as bad.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
the year after where it was like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, 2018. That was San Jose, was it? Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
and yeah, that's where I got screwed somehow. What was it that?
Well, the first day was just trying to get in.
Get in,
'cause the
yeah.
line was so ridiculous that if you didn't pick up your badges the day before, because I
Yeah.
think the line was even ridiculous for us, but Beth and I just happened to be in a different line
Mm-hmm.
where they opened up a side door right about in the middle of the thing. So we ended up, we would have been stuck outside for 4 or 5 hours also.
Yeah.
I think we just got lucky that the staff decided to open up that side door last minute and let us go through that security checkpoint. But yeah, I think most of people stayed outside in line for like 4 or 5 hours because it was just the most inefficient thing they had going on.
Yeah, I remember I just said fuck this after it was long enough for
But
me.
Sunday you just forgot your badge is what happened. So when we got there, you had forgotten your badge and you were like, I'm not going back home to come back. So I'm just leaving.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I
"Okay,
just
that's
said to hell
fair."
with it. So I got to go in one day for the money that I paid, and it was
Yeah.
just like, I'm never doing
And they
this
were
again.
being unreasonable about selling you a new badge, I think was what it was too.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, no.
It's like, I've already paid for this. Can I just get like a temporary
I
something?
feel like you could look up in the system that Stephen White paid for this ticket or, you know.
Yeah. But no, they were just like, no, we're going to charge you another $100. I was like, well, then I'm not going in.
It wasn't worth the first 100.
Yeah. So I didn't miss anything. I honestly, I felt like I just wanted to be there with you guys. TwitchCon
Same.
was, you know,
Excuse.
yeah, it was just a reason to come together, and I really didn't give a shit. So if there had been a 2019 meeting at TwitchCon, I would not have paid for a ticket. I would have just paid to stay wherever we were staying, and if y'all wanted
Hang out.
to, yeah,
Honestly, all of us, and I think I hear this sentiment from a lot of people who go, a lot of us had more fun at the outside events and the other things. Like the
Yeah.
con itself wasn't that amazing or that many things to go see and do, that most of the time, you know, you'd go there for an hour or two and then we would go, what else do we want to see in the city that we're in?
yeah. Oh,
Or
I
what
had
after parties we had to go to, you know, something like, but really the most fun I had, I can't say was ever in a con floor.
in 2018, walking the streets of San Jose. I mean, I guess I should be grateful that it wasn't a crime-ridden town, or at least not to my knowledge.
I managed to wander in a bad portion of it, but thankfully I wasn't alone. Because when we split that night, when I was
Yeah.
like thinking you all were coming out still to the bars, and then we went to the bars, we wandered out, and I do remember just hitting people on the shoulder, going, "We're still open for drinking."
Yeah.
Because
I mean-
where I'm from, we could drink till 4 or 5 a.m. I'm like, this is California. They have to have 4 or 5 a.m. bars.
Sure.
Like, they have to, right? Apparently not in San Jose. And then one of the ladies was like, and by the way, you don't want to keep walking down that direction. And started to explain. And I just looked at my buddy and I'm like, so Uber it? So we're leaving now? That was enough for me. You're like, okay.
I mean, I guess I just hit it during the day because I was never wandering late at night. But
Yeah.
I mean, there was a moment. I think one day I'd gotten up really early and I walked down to a pastry shop because I thought, you know, I'll treat everybody to some donuts and pastries and coffee and whatnot. And I wanted some coffee, and I found a place. It was just a few blocks down, so I took a stroll down there. It was a really nice place, really like home-grown, you know, local little spot. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I enjoy the atmosphere. Like walking the streets, I probably walked several miles. You know,
Yeah.
good for the heart, good for the body. And that was actually about the time I was really starting to change my diet and everything
Yeah,
like
you were.
that. So I was a little slimmer, not as slim
Starting
as
to
I
lose
am
weight.
today, but you know, a little slimmer.
No, definitely when I look at that picture from us at that TwitchCon where we have like, you could tell I'm hammered and we just have like our faces pushed together, you know, like, you know, and to your face now, huge difference.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't mean that as a pun. That's
No,
just
no,
how
no.
it came out.
No, it's difficult sometimes to look back at those. I mean, I'm not like massive or anything
No.
like that, but still, I look at it and I'm just like, why couldn't I do that then, now, or
But
whatever?
you just got to be thankful you finally did and try to move forward with it. Be happy where you're at. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
I try to be. I mean, for the most part, I am. But sometimes, like
sure.
here in the last, I'd say since my birthday, as weird as that may be. So in the last 2 weeks, I've started to notice this trend that my weight's going up. And it was like, so I can't even enjoy cake now and ice cream because the moment I did that, I swear to God, it was like the scale was like, you put on a few pounds. And I was like, I just had cake and ice cream one fucking day. Can I not have that? You know?
Not? Yeah, you can. You just can't look.
Apparently not.
That's the only saving grace for me is I just never look.
Yeah.
That could be my bad part too, because then I never notice when I'm putting it on, until you go to the doctor and I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
There's 30 extra or whatever.
Sure.
But,
right. Yeah. I think honestly, my problem right now is I just need, I'm not as active as I once was.
Oh,
so
I feel that hard.
Luckily, it's not bit me in the ass too hard, but again, I see that I've put on a few, but it's not this massive amount, like 10 pounds most.
Like you can still put your pants on and not
yeah. I mean, but you just kind of feel it and something's just not quite right. And it's like, all right, I just need to, if I could just get rid of that. And all I need to do is I need to be active because I start thinking. I used to go do little 30-minute walks, or I used to, just a little bit of cardio exercise, just something to kind of keep me moving. And
just doing your yard work would do that for you.
Oh yeah. And see, that's another great example. I mean, if you take a look back when I was having to mow the lawn and all that stuff, it was lower. And now that I'm not doing that.
Well, it's the hibernation period, right? It's getting colder. We don't want to go. Well, I don't know how cold it's getting for you.
Oh, no. It's been frigid. Like, I think the other day it was high at 47, and I was like,
oh okay.
Yeah.
So then we're almost about the same waking up, because we've been waking up in like 35, although this weekend, amaze balls. I'm very happy. It's supposed to be in the 70s and sunny. So take our third summer, I guess, whatever.
Yeah, I think that's today's forecast. It should be... somewhere mid-70s, so it'll be kind of nice and cool, sunny, and everything like that. So I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Yard work in.
Yeah, I really need to. I mean, it doesn't. The grass is already dead, but it could probably use just like a nice flattening, just to kind of to make it look nicer. But yeah, I mean, grass is just like dead.
Yeah. We didn't survive the first frost. I'm sorry, sir.
So I got two things I want to talk to you about real quick.
Yeah.
One, I wanted to bring this up because I felt like it's amusing because I cannot understand for the life of me why this is happening. So you get spam emails, right?
Sure.
And usually when they're trying to be personal with you, with whatever, it'll be like, hey, Super Mega Crash, and I was like, that's not my name. And I'm sure with you, it'd be like, hey, whatever, your email address is. And it's like
001 from back in the day or whatever, or 007.
Or hey, you, or hey.
Business name.
Business customer. Whatever it may be. Just something stupid. Well, I'm so confused by this because I don't understand how this name got associated with the email. I get spam emails on a regular basis in the Super Mega Crash Gmail that we tell people to email us, whatever. But for some reason, the spam emails are all addressed to someone named Marion. And I don't know how you get Marion from Super Mega Crash.
Ooh, maybe she did like Super Marion Crash or something for hers, and they got confused, or...
We've never had a Marion on the show.
I'm just saying we don't know who's got what on their Twitter or on their socials for email.
But who is Marion? I just want to know who Marion is.
I don't know.
They're just like, hey, Marion, we have this thing for you. And I'm like, who are you talking to?
Excuse for the people making the email. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it was one off.
Yeah. I mean, it's so weird. It's so bizarre. And I think we're going to have to turn it into a joke at some point. Because
if you get a bunch of good ones,
I don't know who this is.
Yes. Well, my favorite one still to date was the people trying to show us how amazing the captioning would work for our podcast, and it was the most god-awful captioning I'd ever seen in my life. Didn't even bother to spell check, make sure the words were right, spell my name right, nothing. I'm like, this is your opening bid?
Yeah.
And you wanted money for that? Okay.
Okay. And funny enough, I did get another. Now, this didn't seem to be spam. I kind of dug into it a little bit. So this is a little free promotion for them, I guess. I got an email from some company called Gallus. I'm going to assume that's how you pronounce it. GALAS.FM. They're another one of those podcasting platforms that, because there's not enough. And this guy seemed to be out of Ukraine. He's got this new startup, and the whole idea is that you take this link and you post it in your show notes, and then that can direct people to your Gallus account, and then you can have a real conversation with your fans about your show. And I'm sitting there thinking, that would be fantastic, but, we can't even get them to comment as it is.
If we spread them out too far, too. Like, we finally got some people in the Discord. I'd be like, oh, okay, and then you also want to do this thing. So that might be more beneficial for,
I mean, maybe. I'm not going to...
those pods that are popping up, and they got, all these people coming in there or something. I don't know.
I mean, I'm willing to give it a shot, but, I mean, I'm kind of like you. Let's go to Discord. We've given you a link to this thing where we're all going to be. Mm-hmm. We're all there. So let's go have that conversation over here. But, I mean, if you'd prefer not to do that, I get it.
You'd want to start the whole thing there. Like, I've not done any podcasting before. This seems like a one-stop place.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So it's something to look into. I might post the link in this episode. So if you happen to see it, we'll see. Who knows?
See what happens, yeah.
Because I did look into it. It is legit. It didn't seem to be a spam thing or anything, but... there's just so many.
The service you need, yeah.
And I know I badmouth Good Pods a few episodes back, and they're so continuing to be nice with their, hey, you've reached our charts, and I was like, I don't know how I'm doing that, but thank you. I'm glad.
Thank you for the reminder.
I just wish. If we were number one on the Good Pods charts, then I'd be singing their praises all day. But we only seem to break the top 20.
Sorry.
Which I guess is fine.
Yeah.
So, whatever. I mean...
Or it's that spam email to keep us thinking something's really happening over there and we've got to hurry up and get back.
Mm-hmm.
Urgent.
But we had another surge in listeners, and I don't know where this... if you take a look
is
at
it Sonic again?
No,
Sonic?
This seemed to be like a mass download. I'm assuming maybe we got a new follower... Because
loading up for a trip or something.
Every episode now has a view or a download. So I'm assuming.
Well, thank you, listener.
Where this
sibling.
Yeah, wherever this spike happened, they were downloading a massive amount to.
Oh, good. Well, fun.
Go through the backlog.
We brought in any sibling there. Listen at your leisure.
I always warn you, if you go back to the early days, they're not as fun.
They're definitely different.
They're different.
It's just a different beast.
Well, especially when you take a look at some of the stories or the reviews that I was probably doing, and I was trying to touch on. The stories weren't, they
as robust.
Yeah, I did my research, but I didn't put a lot of heart and a lot of embellishments into it.
Touches.
Yeah. Or even if you take a look at the guests, there was a moment where we would have guests on and be like, hey, there's this person and they're coming on the show. Welcome this person. And then now when we have a guest, what do? You get an introduction, a proper introduction. And people love that.
It's like you're famous for it now. Yeah. You can't not do it anymore.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
I felt like if we're going to do guests, whether it be here or another show or whatever, the people need to feel like you're hearing somebody.
Absolutely.
Important.
And having you on the show, we clearly already were enamored with whatever it was that you were doing. Mm-hmm. And we've never been a gotcha pod.
No.
We just liked having people on that we want to talk to and people that we like and already like what they're doing. You
right.
know?
So there you go. So I'm excited about that. Lastly, before we get into our meat, hey, did you know... This is hilarious.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Oh, yeah. It's so hilarious. Did you know that there are 5 states that have slavery on the vote this year?
Wait, what?
Yeah. Let me explain.
Please do, because...
5 states: Alabama, Louisiana, Oregon, which really surprised
Really?
me. Tennessee, no surprise there. And Vermont. I'm really surprised that, Atlanta.
Vermont?
Or not Atlanta, Georgia, and any of those, Kentucky. But
So
yeah.
wait, so Vermont, Alabama, Louisiana, Tennessee,
And Oregon.
and Oregon. Okay, interesting.
They have a vote on the ballot which will close loopholes that led to the proliferation of a different form of slavery. I don't know. Did I say slavery? It sounded
I feel like
it.
you did, but it could have been the power of my mind just putting in the gaps.
Let's assume that's what I said. These loopholes, they want to create slaves out of criminals.
I thought we were already doing that technically.
Well, they have money. They get paid cents on the dollar or whatever. But it says...
Oh, so they don't get the pennies anymore?
No, it says forced labor by people convicted of certain crimes. None of the proposals would force immediate changes in the state's prisons, although they could lead to the legal challenges related to how they use prison labor, which is very much like slavery. It's an effort is part of the national push to amend the 13th Amendment, which banned slavery.
Yeah.
It's just, when there was a lawmaker in Tennessee, this is how it got on my radar, that caught this and was like, whoa, what? And are trying to scramble to make sure that this doesn't happen because, it might not seem that cut and dry when you read it or you see it. Like, it's not saying, hey, we're going to bring slavery back, but it's the details.
Oh, they always like to use flowery language and things like that makes it sound nicer than it is.
And
they'll just play on the heartstrings of, but it's just criminals.
Mm-hmm. And that's part of the problem. Now, I'm not going to say that some criminals deserve to be treated.
There's varying degrees. Let's be real.
Yeah.
It's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
But you think about it. Most people, what do? You equate a murderer the same way with someone who had
stole a candy bar.
Yeah, a drug possession charge, or like you said, stealing a candy bar. All you hear is criminal, and that's in the story. Yeah. So you were in prison. Okay.
Missed a few parking tickets. Here we go. Now I'm a criminal for the rest of my life. Yeah.
Yep. So not the same.
No.
And people should not be treated as such. And
they may not be, to be fair, because I think a lot of the times they'll one side will always leave out things to make it more scary, and then the other side will do the same. So, yeah, we kind of got to really look through the bills that are there and see what's actually going on instead of listening to any side tell us what it means, because sometimes we'll find
without
leading us to believe something that's not exactly there.
Without going into great detail, I do have to tell you this. I didn't hear the entire conversation. I just heard enough. I've told you about the guy that is at my job who is a hardcore. He's one of those real
conspiracy theorist type QAnon dude.
The Trump supporter that hears everything from Fox News and will repeat it verbatim. Like if you've heard the rhetoric.
He learned his lines.
Yeah, he repeats the rhetoric. Now, I had my earbuds in, like I normally do, because I just like to drown out all the garbage.
Sure.
And I guess for a brief moment, whatever music had stopped, or I had to turn it off for a second, and I had to hear what he was saying. I turned it back on pretty quick because, again, I didn't want to hear. But I heard enough. And tell me how hilarious this is. It went something to the effect of, it makes no sense that a man has that much power that he can just sign something into law. I mean, what kind of system do we have here that one man has that much power? I was like, the same fucking power that every other president prior to him has had.
And he can't just sign it into law.
But
he can't.
You see the ridiculousness of it?
Yes.
So
well, I learned a long time ago. It's just because, it depends on which side is winning, on how much they agree with what they're doing. Like, I've seen them both sides do it. If they're in power, it's fine.
But
if they're not, how could you be allowed?
You can't equate that. Every president has had that power.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was just like, God damn it. You know, the sheer ignorance.
That's why I said the older I get, the more I realize adults don't know what they're talking about either.
They don't. I mean, it's just, it's, oh my God, it hurts my brain.
It's the ability to do the mental gymnastics in your brain to make it make sense for whatever you need it to make sense for. The confirmation bias is real in a lot of people. So as long as it sounds good and something we agree with, we will hold it until the day we die. Even if we find out we're wrong, no, I'm just going to keep saying that because pride at that point or something.
True.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm telling you guys, C-SPAN. I stand C-SPAN.
I mean, as long as it's unbiased, it's the best way to go.
Well, it's just because there's not a lot of talking heads telling me how to think on C-SPAN. They're just like pointing a camera at a thing and just letting you watch. You know?
That's true.
Like,
that's true.
That feels like the least biased I can get.
Yeah.
It's just watching a thing and understanding it in my own way.
Fair enough. So, tell me what you've been playing.
So I kind of had a slower week with games.
Okay.
I actually was a little busy this week, but I did, if it makes any difference, I downloaded the newest Plague's Tale. I just haven't gotten around to doing it because that, of course, came out this week. So if you've been playing it, siblings, let us know. How are you enjoying it? Because I thoroughly enjoyed the first one, so I'm anticipating to enjoy the second. But so it's downloaded and ready to go. And Persona 5 Royale came to Game Pass.
Ooh. Okay.
On the 21st. So I had that preloaded and ready to go. And then I just ended up downloading The Tenants, which is another one of my sim games, because they had a full release. And I'm like, cool, let's see what's new. Please let me skip the tutorial. Please, for the love of God. Now, I know this one, it made sense for me to go through because they added so many new features and different things that I actually hadn't seen. So I was like, okay, fair. After we got to a certain part of it, I'm like, yeah, you need to show me this because this didn't exist before. But I hope they do eventually add the ability to skip all that, because if you want to start a new game, that's kind of obnoxious to be forced into the learning how-to tutorial. But maybe that's just me. I don't know. But I'll be damned if it's there. I couldn't find it. Yeah. I tried. But then outside of that, I just ran some scenarios on this little school simulator that I play too. I had all these ones downloaded and ready to go and never got around to it. And then some Slay the Spire on my Steam Deck.
Okay.
I don't know why I'm starting to play that again.
Because you're obsessed. You love it.
I know. I take like a year off and then I'll come back and be like, I can't slay the spire. And I keep trying all the different characters and just dying over it. I'm like, how did I do this before? I'm on like 4 and 5 and 11 and something else with the other ones, and now I can't get through one rank. But yeah, that's about it. I preloaded a bunch of stuff for me to start and then never got around to being able to start them. So I should have a really great next weekend ahead. You know, what about you? Did you play anything fun?
I did get to play something new. I set the Avengers aside, even though I would like to continue with some of the extra side story stuff. And I started thumbing through some of the games here recently that I think I was talking about last week. And I wanted to see if there would be
the PlayStation,
yeah, just trying to see if there was something on there that would really kind of catch my eye, or just something seemed smaller that maybe I could breeze through a little bit, but still have a lot of fun with, or just seem fun. And I chose 9 Monkeys of the Shaolin.
Okay.
And it harkens back a little bit. I won't say that it's identical to those like beat 'em ups, but it has that kind of flavor to it. And I'm really enjoying it. And I'm kind of hoping that, I can play it a little bit this weekend, because I was able to actually play it 2-player, and that was kind of nice. But it's you're like this guy whose village has been, ravaged by these thugs or whatever, and old whatever. I names and things are just slipping my mind. Anyway, you are looking to get revenge, so you go out and they give you like a staff, and you have basic abilities. You have your basic, you like your attacks, and then you have like a thrust attack, you have a kick attack, and then you have a dodge, and all the movement is very fluid, but you can kind of work in different ways on how you move, and what you got to block, and you got to know how to fight. So at first, especially the way the buttons are set up, it feels like I wish I could have mapped the buttons just a little bit differently because of how I would want to play it. Because hitting triangle is not what I want to do as my primary. You know what I mean?
Right.
Square is my primary. That's just where my brain is wired.
Yeah.
But once you kind of get used to it, I mean, you kind of feel the flow, and you can really do some pretty awesome moves, kick some ass into these groups and everything. And it's kind of has this, reminds me of those, beat 'em ups, like the distance, but so you kind of get most of the screen, how you see it, but it's all 3D,
Okay.
and it's not like open for you to move around. It's still scrolling from left to right, but everything has this 3D.
Interesting.
Like
a 2.5D, 3D kind of feel.
Yeah, kind of. So it a little very linear in where you're going, and the stages seem pretty quick, like you can kind of beat everybody up and move along. But there is some challenge to it as well, like especially with bosses. There was one boss that we fought, and it was just, for a moment, we were just like, God damn, what can we do? Because you have like this parry move, so people from a distance can be sitting there throwing darts at you or shooting arrows or whatever. But if you parry properly, you can knock it back, and hit them with their own stuff. And one of these bosses, I mean, this dude was just like nonstop coming at you, and two people were throwing these bombs at you.
Oh, dear.
So we're just sitting there trying to juggle all this, and even if you knocked a bomb back, another guy would come out. So it was just constant,
Oh, damn. Yeah.
So there was a moment, like we had already failed, I think, twice trying to do it. It was like, damn it, we've got to figure this out. We're not going to come this far, and then this son of a bitch.
Leave it here.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. And whatever happened, Katrina had gone down, and she was just like, just keep going because you can revive your partner.
Okay.
And the boss's life was like so close, and she's like, just beat him. Just beat him.
Just get him.
And I was like, all right. So, I mean, I put everything into it, and next thing I know, the boss was going down. I was like, oh my God, because I was like dodging, parrying, everything. I was like, I'm
Broke
using
out those platform
everything.
skills.
Yeah. Oh my God. It was just, my heart was racing. It was like, I could do this. And I did.
Got it. And I'm sure it felt great. Katrina's cheering you on, so it's just a little fun.
Another thing that they kind of add in, I would say it's kind of an RPG element. So for every level that I say level, it's a level.
Stage.
Yeah, stage, because you have this map, and there's somebody, you start every section in this little hut, and it's kind of like your main hub. And then one guy will kind of point you to the next mission. They'll give you 3 points on a map, and you'll collect, they look like, what do you call it? The boat.
The wheel?
Yeah, a boat wheel.
Steering? The steering wheel?
A steering wheel. I don't know why I can't think of words.
I'm not going to make fun of you. My brain breaks all the time.
But that's what they look like, but they're golden. And then those are kind of experience points that you can take to another, like your trainer in the hut. And
that's your currency.
Yeah, and then you can use that to up your skills. So you can, increase your attack power, your defense, certain moves that you have. So your kick, your main attack, or your thrust. And then you'll also learn from that guy special moves. So it's pretty much like holding L2 and hitting one of your attack buttons, and then that will do something. Sometimes it's like a super move where you're just like hitting a whole bunch of characters at once, or something a little bit more mystical where you can kind of freeze them and, kind of take care of business, kind of freeze you up. So, and then again, once you learn those, then you can apply points to those and then build yourself up to be stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
I stuck with basic for starters, so I can kind of get that going. And
Feel
then,
of it, yeah.
Yeah. So that way I at least know that my basic moves are top notch.
You got the basics down pat, a good staple. Basic, yeah.
And then that way I can work on the other stuff, but I don't need to rely on it because, again, like any good RPG, you have a bar. You can only use it so much. So the basics are what I'm going to be using most anyway. So I'll build that up, make myself strong, and then
you're waiting for your specials to reload or something. Yeah.
I'll worry about that later. So it's really neat, and then you can even find new equipment. You can get new staffs, new shoes, new beads, and then they have certain elements that you can pass along. Maybe like, I know there was one pair of shoes because we'd found a few, and one made us faster. It wasn't like super fast, but you could just feel that your pacing is faster. And then we got another pair, and then they were supposed to be for, I can't, maybe it was something where it changed the effect, and it was like, oh, that would be cool. But then we slowed down, and I was like, I like being faster.
Yeah,
I like having this speed.
It's hard to go back to slow after.
Yeah, because I didn't even realize that we were slow, until you had it, and then it was gone. I was like, no, I need the speed. So it was just kind of nice that they kind of changed every attribute of your weapons and your gear, so you can try to find the one that works best for you.
Nice. Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that. So I'm looking forward to continuing to play that.
What was it called again?
9 Monkeys of Shaolin.
9 Monkeys of Shaolin. Okay.
And you can even find secrets. I found this out too. I think there's only five worlds, and you can even go back and replay them. That's another thing too. If you happen to miss something, like the secrets, from what I've seen thus far, it's not really anything like huge. It's maybe you can change your appearance, do the big head thing, just basic little,
just for funsies.
Yeah, kind of stuff like that.
Okay.
I don't think there was anything, or at least we haven't found anything that's like, oh my God, that will make us a god.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as I know, there's a secret in every level, and I didn't realize that until I was kind of looking it up, and I was like, I wonder what all the secrets are. And then it was like, yeah, every level has a secret, and I was like, well, shit. We haven't found a secret in every level. So it gives us a reason to go back and look if we wanted to.
Absolutely.
But I highly recommend it if you like the kind of beat 'em up games. It's not like, though, it has that flavor to it, but it puts its own spin on it, and I really enjoy the martial arts aspect of it.
It sounds like it's fine. I might have to give that a download, give it a look-see.
Yeah, especially once you figure out your method, the dodge, the parry. I mean, you've just got to be on it, and if you can do it right, you balance it out. Oh man, you can kick so much ass. It's a lot of fun.
Sounds like I'd be very, very full of rage.
I won't say that it was like easy for me to just pick it up, because again, the button mapping. I was just
Did they
like,
let you remap?
I don't think so. At least maybe I need to dig into it.
I'm so used to PC letting me just remap that I just don't even think about it when it comes to console.
Mm-hmm. So maybe I should look into it a little harder, but I don't think so. And that was what was throwing me off at the beginning, because I was like, man, come on.
My brain's used to going to these 2 buttons for specific moves, and yeah. Did you ever play Dead Cells? I don't know what made me think of that when you were talking about it, because I know it's on PlayStation. I feel like you'd love it.
It's one of those I did add to my library. I will play it. I did want to try it out because I know everybody was talking about it there for a while.
It is a really good game.
Yeah.
Definitely made me rage, but you're like a lot better at platformers and stuff, so you might be able to get through it. I thought it was great. So I'm just throwing that out there. Okay. I think you would love it.
Yeah, I do want to check it out. So it's on my list of things to get around to. I feel, wasn't that one of those procedurally generated?
They do kind of change the maps up each run. I mean, you'll eventually see the same maps, but you're not necessarily guaranteed to be like starting in the same one or something.
Right,
so yes, and it is permadeath. So once you've lost your 3, you do have to start all the way over.
I think that was one of the reasons I avoided it.
And that's a fair reason. That is a fair reason. But I actually thought it was fine. So I feel like I have more rage about that kind of stuff than most. Maybe not. I don't know. But I got through it. 1 run. That's it. I was never able to go back and beat like Big Boss after you beat the one boss, So once I made it through 1 full run, I was very proud of myself for that, and then probably never touched it again because I was like, we got to go out on top.
Yeah.
This is the best it's going to get. But yeah, to a degree. But I think you'll start to recognize some of them. It's not like like endless maps that just get generated.
Sure. I mean, I did play Returnal for a while, so... Perhaps.
You didn't want to.
Yeah, I was hesitant, but I gave it a shot. And, I don't like when they put you in those positions where you can't.
I just want to learn it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm good. I feel like I'm good at playing games, and I do my best, and I even got to the second level. But damn, dude.
Yeah.
You just it's just like, no, we're just gonna
Permadeath.
throw everything at you.
So,
Nah.
yeah.
It's like, all right.
Yep.
So.
It's like the final boss in the OG God of War. Or bosses.
Yeah.
Since it was like 3.
So you got any news? You got anything you want to talk about?
I do. You know, hopefully you've been reading a little bit about this situation, because one of the things I wanted to discuss, being voice actors and everything ourselves, or at least at one point in time, probably been reading about this Bayonetta news that had been going on between Helena Taylor and, well, I don't even want to put Jennifer Hale. It seems like she just kind of got lumped in because of being recast. But if you're not familiar, although I feel like the siblings here probably have been read up on this, just because it took a twist that was a little hard to ignore. I feel like it was coming out last week as we were recording. I was hearing mumblings of it, but no real meat was coming out as to what was going on, you know? So as it started to my memory anyway, Helena Taylor, she's the original voice actor for the Bayonetta games, came out asking players to protest the newest game, as she had been screwed over on pay to reprise her role. And she came out in a video on Twitter explaining why. You know, and told us, you know, in the beginning, she's letting us know how well trained she is, going on to explain all of her credits, who she's trained under, and all of the, you know, her big, you know, I'm worth it kind of situation, and just the caliber of people she's worked under and trained under. And then said that she was would be paid $4,000 US total. Yeah. So I listened to the video, and her words were a buyout flat rate. Right. So it's just leading us to believe it was just 4K for the entirety of this thing, and you're out the door.
Right.
So now, taking her word for it, yes, that's very insulting. Like, I feel like your union would step in on something like that, because I know there are certain rates, which is a lot lower, by the way.
Right.
4K is a lot higher than what just a standard base rate for that is. Unfortunately, voice actors do get more of an insulting pay than on-camera actors. Take that for what you will. But she concluded, of course, asking fans to boycott the game and instead spend the money donating it to just a charity. Like, she didn't have a charity, just you put it in charity that you like. And she asked, and so Helena is saying she asked for a reasonable rate, but didn't go on to say what that rate was, right? So as you know, or probably have heard by now, Jennifer Hale was cast as the voice of Bayonetta after Helena declined. So it seems like Jennifer just kind of got drug along into this, having been recast, but being under NDA and keeping her NDA, whereas Helena is not keeping her NDA. Pretty much was just like not having any public thing to say, because it just seemed like she just, as far as she knew, she was just recast in a role that was declined. Now, I don't know all the behind the scenes stuff. She, you know, they're both were under NDA.
Sure.
So the only thing I've really seen Jennifer do is retweeting articles talking about it, which is what would kind of lead me to believe where she's trying to like go, hey, look at this one. This is a little more accurate to the things that I know for sure was going on, you know, but never would make an official statement, which was probably the smart way to go about it. Quickly thinking she just betrayed a voice actor. You know, which is what the internet did. Like, screw you, Jennifer. Can't believe you would take it. She was only getting 4K, you know. But it kind of took a twist, which is what I wanted to discuss with you. Because, and again, this is all just stuff that I'm reading. I don't know if anything is 100% that we know for a fact what happened. But it started to come out that she was not, in fact, only offered 4K flat buyout rate, but it was 4K per recording session up to at least 5 sessions.
Oh.
So we're looking at 15 to 20K. And I think what I was hearing was she was requesting a 6-figure salary for it. And then Platinum Games was like, but no, that's too much, you know? That's in the eye of the beholder, whether you think 6 digits. But she did say that she wanted residuals.
Right.
So, and I'm guessing in the voice world, you don't really get a lot of those offers. So it's sounding like anyway, from what I'm reading, that she wasn't being completely truthful coming out. But that's, again, if we're to believe one side over the other.
Right.
I don't think Jennifer would just take a 4K buyout because, I mean, she's very well known in the voice acting community as well. Plenty of really great credits under her belt. I don't know. What do you think? Have you been reading up on that?
I have heard about all this. I know that Stephanie Sterling talked about it last week on their show. And that's where I heard kind of the base element. And there did seem to be, I don't want to say something, there was something odd about it, just something a little off. And I was just like, well, that just seems weird, but we just kind of took it at face value and was like, okay, yeah. And then,
well, yeah, we all instantly was like, that sucks,
And I guess I missed a lot of the details that you kind of brought up where some of the greater details came through. And I'm kind of like you. I don't feel like Jennifer Hale would be that type of person because we actually kind of saw something similar to this, not in the gaming space, but in animation, where John DiMaggio was refusing to return as Bender for Futurama on Hulu. And it was because he felt that the pay offer was not substantial to what they should be getting paid. And he was like, it's not just about me. It's about everybody. Yeah. He was like, we all deserve something. It's like, we're not scale actors.
We're putting these characters to life.
Right.
Yeah.
We are these characters. Without us, you don't have this. And 100% I agree. I mean, we're talking about, and I almost feel like we had the same problem back with No More Heroes, because when Travis Strikes Again came out, it was not Robin Atkin Downs who had done Travis's voice in the first 2 games. So I was concerned, that he wasn't going to come back for 3, and I think that was even something that he even took to Twitter and was like, "Hey, what the fuck, And I honestly feel like it felt like he got blindsided by it, because the way his tweets were coming off, it was like, no one asked me to come back, so, so voice actors matter. You get connected to these people, you get connected to the actor. And I feel like Jennifer would know that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't blame her,
I just, especially with what I know right now, things could change in the future. But I mean, it's still, as far as it goes for me, as I can tell, she was an actor who auditioned for a role and got a role. Yeah. That's how I was seeing it, And again, she's, unless something's come out that I've just missed in the last couple of days, but I haven't seen like Jennifer do an official statement other than just saying that she is under NDA and not at liberty to really speak a lot about it. So like I saw that. I did put down like her only statement that I saw as a longtime member of the voice acting community. I support every actor's right to be paid well and have advocated consistently for this for years. And anyone who knows me, has followed my career, will know that I have great respect for my peers and that I am an advocate for all members of the community. I am under NDA and I'm not at liberty to speak regarding this situation. My reputation speaks for itself. I sincerely ask that everyone keep in mind that this game has been created by an entire team of hardworking, dedicated people, and I hope everyone will keep an open mind about what they've created. Finally, I hope everyone involved may resolve their differences in an amicable and respectful way. With love and respect to you all, Jennifer Hale. So that's, I feel, a very professional way to do it. Kind of felt like she might have gotten cornered in this whole situation. So, I mean, I don't know any of these people personally.
No.
They could all be garbage humans for all I know. But It just seems like she kind of got stuck in a bad situation by taking a part, probably not knowing it was fully leaded the way that it was.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like and that's something that everyone could just have their own discussion about, right? Because if you're looking at the rates, like the lowest rate that their supposedly union can offer you per session was like 1,000 something.
Yeah.
In some cases 900, So I feel that's low.
Sure.
But that is what the union decided has to be, at least $1,000 per recording hour or whatever. Or session, however they have it written up in their contracts, Do you think 15 to 20K sounds fair for a voice actor for a series of this? I mean, I feel like it's a big game, but not insanely huge, but maybe I'm wrong. But
I don't want to say that it's not a big game, but I don't feel like it is of the caliber of something like Call of Duty or Battlefield.
Right.
And I don't mean that like the game doesn't matter.
Sure.
But when you look at something like Grand Theft Auto,
right?
GTA 5, I feel sorry for those voice actors who probably gotten dick.
Yeah, God, I hope they renegotiated something.
Yeah,
you're probably right.
Because I feel like I did hear that they somehow got screwed over. They signed on not knowing what the game was going to be.
Yeah.
And do you think Rockstar was just like, you know what, we really should pay them, a little extra
to go back?
Yeah,
probably
because
make it right. No, companies don't do that.
No, of course not, because they're making the money, and it was like, well, you signed a contract, so. Yeah. And I guess that would be no different than the guy that signed over the rights to The Witcher, the author of The Witcher, and the deal he cut with CD Projekt Red. You remember that?
Yeah.
Because it was just like, we'll pay you installments, like for percentage royalties and whatever, or just one lump sum. He's like, one lump sum.
I feel like a lot of people get screwed by doing it that way. But to be fair, how do you know it's going to take off?
Right. And at least now, see, in that case, I couldn't really side with him because they offered you both. And you took the lump sum. So then when the game was starting to make money, you were like, I need to get that money now. And it's like, nah. You had the offer.
I still feel like the right thing to do would have been to make it right when it blew up, because you are still using their name. But again, I know it's all legalese and in contracts and
they
all
did
this kind of stuff. But.
They did offer him something. As far as I know, they got that squared away. But in the moment, I was just like, you had an option and you took the option. It wasn't like they were screwing. They offered you both. And this was your decision. Yeah. In the gaming scenario, again, I don't know all the details, but with Grand Theft Auto and even this, you don't know what those games are going to be. You're an actor. So if you got paid scale, say it was the first Bayonetta, got paid scale and was like, oh, okay. And the game suddenly blew up. And they were like, well, we got to do a sequel. Part 2 comes around, you got to give me a little bit more because you saw what happened. That's how this negotiation works. But if you're going back to scale or less than, if it continues to go up in popularity, and from what I know, these games are very popular within their own group.
There should be a different way to put it, if they're not already in there, in these actors' contracts that could say if. Because, I mean, even if we don't know, I do, and maybe it's just a moral center for me. If you're still using someone's likeness, voice when it becomes successful, I feel like the right thing to do would be to pay it forward to those who helped you create the thing.
Yeah.
Not an unreasonable amount. Let's be fair. There's lots of people that are working on a game. It's not just voice actors. There's lots of programmers and people creating the stuff and writing scripts, and it. But it sounds like they were offering much more than previous offers. Probably because of the success of it. I could be putting words in their mouth, but
no.
Platinum's stance is they offered 4K per recording session of up to at least 5 sessions. Could have been more.
Yeah.
Could have been less, I guess they said at least, so you would have had to have at least done 4 of the 5. Excuse me. So having 20K for the whole thing, I don't know if that sounds fair.
It doesn't seem fair.
I mean, more fair than the previous offers, sure, because it's done better. You asked her back and all this kind of stuff. I guess I really need to sit down and just talk to 100% voice actor. That's what they do as their gigs, and they run around to all of the different gigs to make ends meet and see if that feels as insulting. Because from a Joe Schmo point, I'm like, that sounds pretty good, but you're probably also selling them at $70 a pop. You're also doing so. What were the sales of the other Bayonetta games? Was there enough? Obviously, there wasn't enough oomph for them to go okay because they recast it. But I don't know what sounds fair.
Yeah,
I feel like residuals should be something they should have as a consideration.
Oh yeah,
for
most
your
definitely.
leads, especially. I mean, not to discount everyone else, but like if you have a returning series like this, maybe that does sound fair to offer them that.
Why not? I mean,
Because it sounds like that was one of the things she was asking for was residuals. I don't know. She did come out and say that if, Platinum was saying she was offered more than 4K, that it was categorically untrue. So we already have that complete diversion. She's saying it was 4K flat buyout done. They're saying it was 4K per recording session of up to at least 5 sessions. So those are conflicting. So someone is lying.
yeah. And it's a little hard to believe the company sometimes because they have this habit, but I don't want to discount them.
Right. But then I'm also like, but Jennifer, unless she did take less, I mean, she's not coming out with anything. In my head, it just seems like for someone who did Mass Effect and like all these other big games that
She would know.
Take less than that?
I mean, she especially doing a game like Mass Effect, she should know the value of her worth for that game.
Right.
So,
Unless she did, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what she was paid. She's keeping her NDA
and
legal.
you know what? I mean, like you said, we don't know her. She could have been hurting for money.
Could have been. This is the thing. I don't know any of these people personally. I don't know any of their moral centers, their values, their anything. I've just heard them in games. Mm-hmm. So one of them is clearly lying because we have already got that conflict of no, it was 4K per session. She says no, it was 4K buyout total. Be on your way. Thank you for your time. So yeah, she's saying that is 100% false that they offered her that much.
Okay.
I heard the rumor she wanted 6 figures. I can't really find anything to back that up that she said she wanted 6 figures. So I don't know if that was just something that, anyway, it wasn't in the video.
Right.
I'm taking what she put in her video as that's the only thing I can trust 100% coming from her mouth, that's what she believes happened or what she wants us to believe happened, however you want to frame it. I just hope it gets taken care of amicably. I don't know. It sounds like now that it blew up, she wants to be like, I just want this behind me now,
Sure.
I mean, I could imagine the hate and crap that's now being.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Especially just a female on the internet in general. But then you mess with gamers and. Yeah. So I'm hoping she just stays safe. And if she's telling the truth, I hope it doesn't shoot her in the foot for future work.
I mean, this is
one of those. Not, well, in that case, I don't know if I feel bad for you if you decided to lie about this sort of thing.
Yeah, the moment you're caught in a lie, I mean, you might as well just kiss your credibility goodbye.
To the streets.
Yeah, I don't want to hear bullshit where you want me to trust you. You've been sitting here spouting, oh, you just don't understand what they've done to me, and then what do? You come out and just be like, nope, I lied. Sorry. So it makes a lot of these situations. That's why we question it all the time. That's why we're sitting here going, I don't know who to believe.
I don't know. And like one of the bigger pieces, or one of the pieces of people like Bloomberg, all right, they're the ones who supposedly looked through documentation that would have confirmed certain details. So Bloomberg said they actually saw documentation that confirms she was offered 15 to 20K if we're going per session. So that already feels kind of gross because now I'm like, was she lying about it? So if they're seeing documentation that was provided from Platinum Games that is in fact what she was offered, then I can't help but think she did just lie to try to garner sympathy. But Helena denies asking for 6 figures, which even I felt would have been kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
But we see on camera talent get way more than that. But that it just didn't set well with me to think she was just coming out with an absolute lie.
Yeah.
To try to get more money or to get people pissy at Jennifer. Maybe. Like, I don't know. Which people will get pissy with her because no, she's not Bayonetta, and probably does such an amazing job you might barely even notice a difference. I'm sure you will, but talented voice actors, they're talented voice actors, and you shouldn't be able to tell the difference.
For sure.
So I guess I don't know if we'll find out. I don't know if we'll ever be able to find out until NDAs. I mean, I don't know if they expire. Honestly, I don't think they do. So.
I mean, anything could happen over the weekend. So.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, like you said, this kind of broke last week, and it was just right there on the cusp, so we weren't really 100% sure what was going on, which is why we didn't really bring it up.
And I'm glad that I waited, because that would have been something I instantly would have been like, screw you, screwing over your actors and all this kind of stuff. So at least it's teaching me now to like wait a minute before I gut react.
Yeah.
Because there's been quite a few that after all came out, you're like, damn.
I mean, speaking of which, and I was really taken aback by this. Not that I don't want to go into great detail, but I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like I have to sit back and just let everybody else have their moment and just. Did you hear Kevin Spacey got off?
You know, I think I did hear some murmurings about something. I didn't look into it anymore because I think I've just written him off at this point.
Yeah, well, apparently the actor who brought the suit against him, the rape allegations, Anthony Rapp, who I always thought was a pretty decent human being. Yeah. They dismissed. I don't know. From what I'm hearing, the dismissal in the case, the reason Kevin Spacey got off, is the actions. This is how it was described: the actions in which Rapp described how he was raped by Spacey were replicated in a film. Like that was a scene in a film, and you could see like verbatim he's describing this moment that he had in the film.
That's rough. Yeah.
Or something to that effect, and it was just like, so because it sounds very similar to the scene in which he is in a film.
Was Kevin Spacey in that scene?
No.
Oh, so this is just a different film. Okay.
Right. I don't know, just something about it didn't set right with me because I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know these people, so it's so hard to know what to trust.
But there were just so many little details that when you heard about Kevin Spacey and then you heard about other people like Bryan Singer, you know, he's been caught in all this director, you know, and they work together in Superman Returns. So I'm just sitting there connecting dots, and I'm just sitting there going, that's interesting. That's interesting. And you start to see a pattern. So I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, this seems right. And then now you're going to tell. What threw me off, okay, it wasn't the fact that he got off, because it sounded like a legal technicality that some lawyer, you know, used and flipped it around. But what really kind of hit me hard is on Instagram, actor Mark Patton, who people may remember from Nightmare on Elm Street 2, his whole career got defined and destroyed because he was in the gay Nightmare on Elm Street film. Of course, he's embraced that now.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Well, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, if you really, like, the very first time I watched it, there was, I was a teenager.
So like overtones for people that were.
Oh, it's 100%. It's 100% a homosexual horror film.
Oh,
without a doubt.
Maybe
without a
just,
doubt.
Like passed over my head.
No.
It's been a while since I've seen them all, to be fair, too. So
if you really watch it, it's blatant. Now he had to struggle with that. There's a whole documentary you can watch on Shudder called Scream Queen. Definitely worth checking out.
Saw it, but passed by it.
Yeah. But he came to Spacey's defense, and it was just like, what? And what I mean by his defense, he was pretty much saying, this is the situation. A man's career got ruined because of these accusations. I don't know the people involved, just saying, and maybe that's what he was trying to say. Don't judge until the facts are out.
No, we shouldn't be, though. Yeah.
But it was odd because then it made me feel like, am I wrong? Is it all wrong? Yeah. Who do I believe now?
That's the problem. I really can't 100% say I'm on board with anyone's opinion anymore. Like, it's just, we're all doing the best we can with the information we get, and some of us don't read all of the information, so I don't.
And I mean,
I mean, one would hope it's not, just because of how gross and egregious that it would be to do that to another human being.
Sure.
But I mean, people do that stuff to each other,
I don't know.
Unfortunately. So
I don't know. It seemed like when you heard Bill Cosby, it was a little hard to fathom. But when I heard Kevin Spacey, I was like, yeah, like there's something about that.
Yeah, you were like, I don't know why. I loved him as an on-screen talent.
Yeah, but there was just something about it. It just seemed accurate.
Like, you could believe it for some reason. Yeah, maybe the parts he's taken. Like
perhaps, I don't know. And
unfortunately,
and that's
like I can see him doing that because we've seen him doing that.
Yeah. So. Again, I don't want to judge, but I guess it really comes down. You don't want to believe that the actress who is Bayonetta is lying. Right. Same with this situation. Anthony Rapp, I follow him on social medias. He seems like a great guy. I've known his acting career for years.
Right.
And is he that type of person?
Yeah, you would hope not, but.
It hits you the wrong way when your perceptions
or did someone
are shaken.
Get to him and now he's trying to back out of the situation? Like that's where my brain starts to go then too. I'm like, is it the truth? Someone got to him. You said it was a technicality, so did it actually? Yeah. But I overthink everything.
But I don't know. It was just
anyway. But yeah, I'm hoping she's not. Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
You want to hate the corporation over the actor, like you do, or I do.
Yeah,
I would
sure.
much rather hate, the gobbling up corporation. But I just have a hard time believing Jennifer would have taken 4K flat myself.
Yeah. I get you.
So that's, anyway, I guess we'll see. Yeah, I just wanted to chat with you about that because, like, voice actors, this coming out, is it making it worse, better? I don't know. Like, should we have those conversations about their pay? Probably. This is the reason why I always hate like NDAs and when you get jobs that say you're not allowed to discuss it. Well, it's because they want to pay everyone something different and they don't want anyone to find out someone might be getting paid more for the same position. So I'm all against having the secrecy on what people get paid.
Sure.
But NDA for like story stuff, of course. But like the rest of it always kind of sat bad with me because you're screwing over another actor, which is why you're making them sign an NDA.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also, I understand you'll get higher rates when you're more established and all this kind of stuff. But I don't know. I wish them well. Yeah. Just leave Jennifer alone. Let Helena, I guess, move on as she says she wants to now at this point, and we'll see what their futures hold. And Bayonetta's out October 28th. So I guess we'll see how many went to Bayonetta or Charity.
Certainly.
On that date. I guess is just all I could say about it being caught up in a bad situation.
Yeah.
But the other thing that came out this week, I figured talk about it. It's spoopy season. It's October. Holy Silent Hill News Week, eh?
Yeah.
Did you see just like the plethora of new content that'll be coming out of that? It's kind of nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Silent Hill 2, there's a remake going on. They announced a whole new project called Silent Hill F. They also announced a Silent Hill 2 movie. And then Silent Hill Townfall with Annapurna Interactive. So you want Silent Hill, baby? You're getting some Silent Hill, baby. Like,
but we're not getting the Silent Hill we all wanted. Just saying.
Yeah, true. So the last one with Annapurna looks like some sort of collaborative effort with interactive live stream platform Genvid Technologies, Dead by Daylight Studio Behavior Interactive, and DJ2 Entertainment, which specializes in adapting games for film and TV. So we've got like all the devs that I've heard of with their hands in this pie. So I watched the trailers, right? Mm-hmm. Let's check it out. Let's see what you're giving me. I watched the Silent Hill Ascension trailer, and of course it told me nothing. But what we saw was a creature in armor in the darkness. And then there was like a text on screen, like a test message. Mm-hmm. This may be to allude you would be interacting maybe real time with the game or with other players. I'm trying to pretend like it told me stuff. I'm pretending to be a journalist here. Sure. This is what it means, right?
Oh, yeah.
And maybe you make decisions on others in real time.
Okay.
because it said face your trauma together. That was the message at the end. So it could just be a really dark choose your own adventure style game. I don't know. I guess we'll see in 2023 is what it looks like. A majority of this will be happening. Did you watch any of the trailers?
No, I saw bits and pieces here and there. It wasn't that, I guess it slipped by me. And suddenly everyone was talking about it. I was like, oh, Silent Hill, cool. And I've just, not that I dislike the series. I guess it's just never been one that I've gravitated towards. I've played, which one did I play? I think it was one that was on the Wii, Shattered Memories, which I think was a remake or a port maybe of the original. Something to that effect, if I remember hearing correctly. And I mean, I had fun with it, but I wasn't drawn to it. Same with the movie. I watched it. I was like, and I know people love it. And
for
people
a horror movie, I thought it was good.
Yeah,
just like not even pretend, like take out the fact it's made from a video game. Just
right.
So, yeah.
But for me, it just, it just. And maybe I watched it at a bad time because I could tell it came out in 2008, 2009. I was
gonna say it's been about 20 years at least.
Yeah,
I feel
if it came out in that period, that was my divorce period. I was,
so, my life wasn't great. Nothing would have made me happy. So.
Exactly. There were very few things that I was enjoying at that time.
That's fair. So there's a lot of other.
So maybe I
things.
need to give it a watch again. Maybe I'll have a new appreciation for it. You never know.
Or you could just wait for the next movie if you want to wait a little bit. And
perhaps.
See that, since weren't there doing that?
Weren't there two movies already?
Well, they're remade. Well, that's the other thing here is just that they are revealing that there is another movie, Silent Hill 2 movie. There's not a great ton of information on all of the things that were announced other than like, this is what we're working on. And I think the Ascension one, we will find out in 2023. It didn't say when in 2023. The remake game was announced for a PS5 console exclusive and then probably eventually to PC, but PlayStation 5 gets it. So Bloober Team is rumored to be developing that one. And they're even bringing back the same music artists and everything, which is what I thought people would be excited for because the score and the ambiance and everything was definitely a lot of the praises that I heard from it. So Akira Yamaoka.
Sure.
I'm so sorry. I wish I knew how to say these things right because I don't like butchering people's names. And the creature designer, Mashiro Ito. So both worked on the original game 20-something years ago. So they're coming back. So if you're a fan of the game and you wanted the remake, here you go. That maybe might make you a little bit more excited.
Nice.
To know some of the, OG people were coming back. And then the other one was Silent Hill F, which looks like a brand new story set in Japan in the 1960s. So the trailer showed a young woman just making her way through the city streets, and you see the plant growth that's just kind of taking over the entire city, and then eventually overtakes her. And then so she's like being trapped in it. And then you see her kind of trapped in the plant life, and it looks like she's floating on some water or something. And as the camera pans into her face, it literally falls off. Her face just slides off.
Weird.
Yeah. And that's end scene.
Okay.
So there you go for that one.
Interesting.
It was a very interesting trailer, the way they set it up. So I don't know, Japan in the 60s. Maybe we're getting some more origin here about how all this came to be. Because I'm wondering if I wrote that about the movie and I put it in there. Because there was another reveal trailer that focused on a transmission received on a small like portable television with someone warning that punishment and judgment are on the way. There was just numerous of like clips and images and footage of a seaside setting. So it's from the creators of Stories Untold and Observation. I played Stories Untold. I had to look up Observation because I was like, maybe that's hinting to me how this would play. But like Stories Untold was kind of an FMV, more point and click, but Observation looks like you were moving a character through.
Right,
so
right.
I don't know. So I was wondering if that was going to be a hint at the play style or a more linear experience. But from what I can tell, I haven't played the other one. Oh, here we go. The movie. So lastly, Return to Silent Hill. So returning from the Silent Hill 2006 movie, Christopher Gans was the director then and the director now. So there you go. Where the first film focused on the Twilight Zone exploration of the town, the second film, they're saying, is more firmly attached to the viewpoint of the protagonist, James Sunderland, and his desperate search for his wife, Mary, and didn't want to comment anymore to avoid spoilers. This is directly from Christopher. So much more psychological horror than the first one is what they're claiming here for it. So you might find some of the same creatures and say some of the strange terror sequences. First big interrogation and the first big terror. But then outside of that, they're repeatedly reiterating they're aiming to respect the will of the author and the intent of the original story. I don't know if you liked the first one. It sounds like you're getting some of the same people back. So you might have the same feel just with better everything because you're doing it. What you said, 2006, so later now, almost 20 years.
Certainly.
Yeah. So, yeah, lots of Silent Hill news. I figured spooky stuff, October, talk about spooky things. I never played them. It was too much for me.
Like I said, I played the one and that was it. And
I feel like I watched the movie because I can watch horror movies stuff all day long. It's something about me controlling a horror game. It's like,
because I remember the actress that was in it. I don't feel like I see her in a lot of stuff. I think Rhoda Mitchell is her name. She was in Pitch Black. I'm almost positive that was her.
You might be right. I'm looking at it now, trying to. Sean B. Now I forgot.
Sean B.
Sean B.
I'm sure he died.
Probably. That's his thing. Don't put it on Twitter, though.
Hmm.
Who was the name you were looking for?
Rhoda Mitchell?
Yep. As Rose De Silva.
Yeah. I remember her being in it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll see. And then, there's absolutely nothing about the other one, of course, because we're still talking about it. But yeah, there you go. If you're a Silent Hill 2 fan, congratulations for your week.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you must be over the moon because, dear Lord, announcing 4 different projects like that, like, holy crap.
Sure.
I guess there's an anniversary coming up. There has to be. Right?
Oh, yeah. Well, this is Konami's thing here lately. We just, hey, we'll take advantage of an anniversary.
True.
Look at us.
True, but this one looks like crazy. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and we'll see. I'll probably see the movie. I don't know if I care about the game or anything. Or I'll watch someone play it.
Yeah.
Because the Silent Hill F, I'm like, I am a little intrigued. But again, we only got like maybe a little snippet that didn't really show any gameplay like we always do these days.
Mm-hmm.
Just here's a portion of this part of the story by my game.
Yeah.
Like, snippet. What? I've been burned too many times before. I think I was talking about Silent Hill Townfall, by the way, with Annapurna.
Gotcha.
Because I had it all. I don't know what I did here. Looks like I hit enter and then moved my cursor and then continued to keep typing without knowing where my cursor left off because lace brain. But that's all I saw that I even felt was close to entertaining to want to chat with you about. Okay. So what do you got?
Well, I got 2 little things, and I actually have a headliner this week.
Ooh, yay, Sir Dad.
But first, I wanted to talk about 2 things. One, there was a Resident Evil showcase on Thursday for Sony.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, it was unexpected to me. I didn't see any announcements, and I just happened to turn on.
More about 4, so now that makes sense.
Yeah, I turned on YouTube, and then suddenly there were like several little blocks in different languages that said live, and I was like, the hell is this? So I clicked on it and I waited, and it was a Resident Evil showcase. Apparently they're doing additional content for Resident Evil 8, and they're adding a new story. If you haven't played 8, I would probably recommend you don't watch the trailer and look into this content because, it spoiled the shit out of the game for me. Like the ending. Damn. And I was like, but again, it's DLC. So still. I know. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I know how that game ends. Yeah, but great. The DLC continues the story. And you know, they do all that. That's kind of neat if you're into that. They also announced, I feel like there was that game. It's kind of like Mercenaries. that they came out with, Reverse or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They're doing new content updates with that for free if you own the games.
Oh, okay.
They're
Nice.
implementing a VR for Resident Evil 8, but they were talking about it on the PlayStation VR 2. They did not
That would
mention.
make sense to me.
Yeah,
Because
they
didn't
didn't.
it initially, the first one was only PlayStation for VR for a bit too?
On 7, yes, you can play
yeah,
that
that's
one.
what I thought. Okay.
So as they were talking about the VR stuff, they were talking about it through the 2's lens, which I thought was really cool.
Nice, yeah.
Then there was something else they mentioned for this. Oh, I'm kind of excited about this because this was one of my minor gripes for Resident Evil 7 and probably one of the reasons I've been kind of hesitating to play Resident Evil 8. They have now added or are adding a third-person mode. So now you do not have to play in first person.
Kind of back to the original form.
Like Resident Evil 4, which they then introduced new footage, new gameplay, so you could actually see this. I know I've played Resident Evil 4 quite a bit, and god damn it, they sold me again.
Did they now?
I'm
right.
getting excited because you see all the new character models. They really, I mean, they look gorgeous. All the characters, even some of the ones I was curious what they were going to look like, they've redesigned, but for the better.
Right.
And they've added new gameplay elements that I was not expecting because they were showing the scene where Leon comes into that village and gets pretty much, ransacked by all the villagers and they're coming after him. And they show the chainsaw guy and he's sitting there just coming after him. And Leon's kicking, he's shooting, he's stabbing, he's doing all of his stuff. And here comes that chainsaw and I was like, oh shit, he's dead. Leon puts up his knife and blocks the chainsaw, and I was like, holy shit, that's new. Yeah, so now you have the ability to block the chainsaw, and I was like, because that was like instant death.
Yeah, you just had to cry.
Yeah, so they've implemented new gameplay elements to kind of keep it fresh, and they went into greater detail about some of your inventory management, how you can even craft ammo now. Which I was like...
Are they nerfing it, though?
It didn't seem that way. I mean, I guess you could see it that way, but I don't think so. I think it might be able... It might be something to kind of help alleviate some of the... Maybe they've added more challenge to it, and they're just...
Yeah.
It's like, here's a way to kind of balance that out a little bit. Maybe. I don't know. I could be wrong.
It's like kids these days won't know the struggle.
But I'm sure they'll have settings where you can't do that.
Go back to the OG. Yeah,
why not?
Cool. I do remember now seeing a little bit from that because somebody posted a video about how you can no longer save the dog.
Yeah, I think Troidel posted that, and I was like,
yeah,
what?
oh, it might have been.
Yeah.
I saw him retweet it or something, but yeah, I was like, oh, what?
Yeah, that's messed up.
That is messed up. Why not?
Because the dog comes and saves you. It's not like it was some little arbitrary moment. Yeah, in the game.
I was wondering if I was remembering that properly because I was like, I thought that would, yeah, okay, so
but
it was in there.
But in all fairness, whatever they've done to kind of recreate the game, it might have felt
It does have a more darker feel.
Inconsequential because when you come into that cabin, this is how it felt from the gameplay footage they were showing. That initial cabin you walk to and you encounter that first guy, it was like a 2-room cabin, I think. It was very simple. And now it seems like you go down into a basement and you walk, like it seems much larger than the initial cabin. So it feels like you're not just going to go in and bump into a guy. It seems like you're going to explore it and then get attacked. That's at least how it came off to me just from the gameplay footage. So maybe they've kind of expanded and tweaked how the story progresses while still adhering to the narrative.
Okay. Well, I guess give it a shot before I think.
Yeah, it is. But it is sad. It's sad.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you just let us save?
So I'm looking forward to it, and I guess if you wanted to go pre-order it, it's available. I think it's coming out in March. Resident Evil 4.
Interesting.
So March 2023. I felt like there was a date 23rd, maybe. I could be wrong. I'm pulling from memory, and I know I could Google search it, but I don't have time. And the last thing I wanted to talk about before we jump into a headliner is, did you hear
March 24th.
March 24th. See, I was close.
There you go. Yeah.
Gotham Knights, I was looking forward to playing that, and then I heard it's broken, so...
Already?
Yeah. What the hell is up with this here lately? Why are AAA studios releasing these broken-ass games?
I don't know. And you would think that you have had any eyes or literacy in the gaming industry over the last several years.
Yeah.
Read the room.
Yeah. Do not release broken shit.
Yeah, like we're paying better attention. You're asking for more dollars for
Yeah.
the same experience, by the way. You decided it's fair to charge us $10 more with the new generation of consoles. So, which means PC, we had to pay it too. You know?
Yeah.
And I'm downloading it. I'm not getting a physical good.
But, I mean, I was seeing this footage on IGN, and I was like, no. If I'm playing that game and that's the shit, forget it. I'm turning it off. Because it was that choppy...
Oh, like losing frames and...
Oh, yeah. I was like, no.
Was it console or PC you were watching? I'm just curious.
I don't remember. They were showing various bits from it, but I couldn't remember what they were
like
showing it
PC,
on.
I'm used to seeing that because if they start it for console, like people barely optimize it well for PC or vice versa. So that's why I was wondering.
But that was one thing that the reviewer was talking about. He said even at 30 frames per second, it was horrible. So you can only imagine something in performance mode at 60 frames.
Don't like anything less than 60 anymore.
So if you can't even do 30 proper,
that's rough.
then screw that.
What are you doing?
I don't know. It's just
it's starting to make me wonder. You have to have QA. Are you hiring bad QA or is nobody taking the advice of the QA when they find something? Like one of those two has to be true. Like either your QA is garbage or they're bringing all of this stuff to you and you're choosing to do nothing with it.
yeah, because it's going to delay your project.
But like, yeah, I
But
don't
hey,
know.
I work.
This is why I say don't pre-order crap anymore. Don't give them their money, to your money,
No,
until
no.
you have a fully released product.
Yeah, this is actually keeping me from pre-ordering a lot here lately. Unless I feel, but even to some degree, I'm hesitant. Even with a studio that I feel confident would release something proper, it still gives you hesitation because what if this is their day? What if this is their time where they're just
Look
like,
at what
no.
CD Projekt Red did. Nobody expected that to happen
Yeah,
with
and
the
that
way
was.
Cyberpunk was released.
But I mean, you see that the game is still going strong, and I
better
guess
than ever.
maybe that's
They're no man's skying it, I guess. That's the new turn of phrase.
I guess. I think that's the way studios are like, just screw it. Who cares? They'll still play it. They'll still come for it. They want it. We'll fix it later.
Which is sad because they're probably true. I know a lot of people who just complain they're not gonna, but in silent, I'm sure they're still buying it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I still stick to my guns. I have not paid a dime for Marvel's Avengers. And
There you go.
I've just
No
played
need.
it for free,
Yep.
technically. Story time.
Yeah.
Story time. No, I wanted to work on this. I was trying to think of a story that would kind of be, something in relation to the holiday because it's Halloween season, spooky season or whatever. And I was trying to think what would be a fun story to kind of explore during the spooky season. So I did a little digging and it was interesting because as I researched the story, I was kind of baffled by a lack of certain details because, I thought there would be a plethora of information. The game that I was looking to research has been out for quite a while, and I thought, there's stories about game developments of all these other popular games. Mm-hmm. I should be able to find something about this, especially considering this is not a franchise that was just like one and done. This is a franchise that has longevity to this day. And when I went searching and I was like, history of this game, I kept getting game lore history. So it's like, oh, well, here's the story about the game and its lore. And I was like, no. Behind the scenes, development history. I don't give a shit about the game history. But then I surfaced one minor detail that could have explained the why. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't want to spin that back. So let's rewind back to Osaka, 1983, where we find programmer. See, I thought I was worried about screwing up his name, and I couldn't even say the word programmer.
Words.
We find programmer Hitoshi Akamatsu working at Konami's arcade division. one of his earliest works was the vertical shooter Finalizer Super Transformation. Don't know this one at all.
Okay, yeah. No.
Now, although that game released in 1985, there's a gap. You know, we say he was there in 1983, but that was a game that released in 1985. There's a 2-year gap unaccounted for. Why, you may ask?
Yeah.
Well, back in the early days, programmers used aliases, sometimes for various reasons. It could be a very ridiculous alias. If anyone remembers seeing Yuka-chan's Papa in Mega Man, I was like, who the fuck is that? Don't know.
A name they wanted to stick.
And sometimes their work would just go uncredited. You know, you wouldn't even see their names at all. It would just be like, hey, you beat the game, congrats.
Right.
And then that's it.
We're done.
Some
start over.
Yeah. Some speculate that this was done by the companies to kind of keep their in-house talent from being identified and then snatched by another development house. It's like, no, we got this talent. You don't need to let people know who it is because they're good and someone could come up and offer them something better. No, we got to keep them here. So don't tell people who it is. That's the speculation.
Okay.
Seems fairly logical. So I kind of buy that. Now, in any case, Akamatsu's work was impressive enough that he was moved from the arcade division to the console division to help create games for the hot new item on the market. Can you guess what it is?
Nintendo?
Yes! Or the Famicom, whichever you want to call it.
Oh, okay.
Either way, it's the same thing. I shouldn't have to spell that out because, you know, this is where we are. You know, this is the 80s. Of course, it's Nintendo. Now, in 1986, Akamatsu began work on his directorial debut. But what kind of game would this be? Now, during the planning stages, Akamatsu began pulling from his other passion, film. He began jotting down various ideas from this passion to craft something unique. One of Akamatsu's favorite filmmakers at the time was Steven Spielberg, who was cranking out hit after hit at this point in his career. He was the hot director, and one of his favorite Spielberg films was Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, all right.
So inspiration began with that adventurous type character. What could I do that would be like that? And trying to work that in. In fact, he loved that movie so much that he insisted that the character use a whip as his primary weapon, just like Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
But when it came to story, various ideas came about, but he just couldn't quite crack that adventurous code, you know? He's like, what do I need? So he began pulling from his other love, classic horror. And that's where the idea really took shape, because what would it be like to actually play in a house of horrors? What would it be like to actually face off against a mummy, a wolfman, a gill man, a Medusa, a Frankenstein's monster, and even Dracula himself? Once he posed that question, the idea took shape. And with that, the earliest, or one of the earliest, horror games was born. Obviously, I'm speaking, of course, about Indiana Jones and the Curse of the Mummy's Tomb.
No, you're not. Are you really?
You thought I was going to say Castlevania, didn't you?
Oh, I totally did. I 100% thought you were setting me up for a Castlevania reveal. Yep.
Of course you did, because that's the game I'm talking about, okay?
Okay, because I was like, you've got to be a liar right now.
But the game wasn't all Akamatsu. You had...
Uh-oh, your turn?
I can do this. Kinuyo. 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 Kinuyo.
Kinuyo?
Yamashita. Kinoyu Yamashita and Satoe Terashima.
Okay. I was going to say, you studied the language at least a little bit. You have a better chance than I do.
I'm still trying to study it. I just, time is getting away from me. They crafted a memorable score for the game that contains several memorable pieces that are still used and covered to this day. While Konami was eager for a sequel, Akamatsu was then tasked to work on another game that was actually based on a movie. But we'll get to that in a moment. Now, another thing to kind of touch on that I forgot to mention, but it kind of reminded me as I was looking into this, or as I was talking about it, is where we said that the credits, people went uncredited.
Sure. Yeah.
But his love for the genre, if you go and watch the credits for Castlevania, every character is a character played by somebody, and it's a fake name that's a homage to the actors and actresses and things like that. So you could feel Akamatsu's love and passion put into that project, especially looking at the end credits. But we'll continue. I just wanted to kind of point that out because I meant to work it in, and apparently I didn't. Damn me for doing it.
It's okay.
the story just flows, and I just kind of keep it going. That's how these things work.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was, as I said, tasked to work on another game. Now, it is unknown what contributions Akamatsu made to this particular title, even though he can be found listed as the game directors and one of the programmers, but I've heard this is unconfirmed. So,
yeah.
However, his passion for film made him the perfect choice to craft a follow-up story to The Goonies. Now, did you know, and I had my mind blown, this is, again, something I didn't have in the story. It was something I actually learned before we started recording this today.
Just now, huh?
Okay, earlier today. Did you know, as I said, this is a follow-up to The Goonies, so it's The Goonies 2. Now, I thought I had played that game. Okay? I thought at some point I had played The Goonies 2. However, I found out that perhaps I had not. I had played The Goonies, which I didn't realize there were two games. I thought The Goonies 2 was the game, and then it was called The Goonies 2 because it was supposed to be a sequel, unofficially to the movie. I thought that was the thing. No, there were two games. That's why there's The Goonies and The Goonies 2. The Goonies is the game I played, which never came out on home release. It was in the arcades on those Play Choice 10 machines.
Okay, yeah.
And you pop in your quarter and it'd be like, here's a selection of Nintendo games, play it. And you can play like Super Mario Brothers or whatever, but on a time limit. Apparently that's the game I played because I swore up and down that it was The Goonies 2.
I have a memory of playing this. Yeah.
And I was looking at it, and especially the opening bit of The Goonies. It was looks like you're in a cabin or a ship or something like that, and there's mice running around, and and I was like, this seems like the game I've played. And I do remember playing it at the Play Choice 10, but for some reason I equated that as The Goonies 2.
Okay. Well.
And then I saw the gameplay for The Goonies 2, and that's not the game I played. So my mind was just blown. I was like, holy shit. So I did play that.
Do us wrong sometimes, man.
Yeah. So anyway, we're not talking about The Goonies. It was just something I thought. Jeremy Parrish, that guy again, he's I love his stuff. We're going to have to get him on the show. I'm going to have to reach out.
You really should.
The story of the game was made to be a direct sequel to the original film. So having the Fratellis escape from prison, go after Mikey and his friends, kidnapping and whatnot. And there's certain elements that were in the original game that were kind of like that too. Now, seeing as how Spielberg was I don't know if he was a credited author. I don't know. I know he was kind of a co-author to the story. He had input. And obviously he was a producer on the film since Ablin was one of the producers behind it. People don't care about that. Anyway, you could easily believe that this was a dream project for Akamatsu, I mean, Spielberg's one of his babies, and he's like, I get to work on that. That would be awesome. So I would like to think that he had, if he was director of the game, it wouldn't surprise me a bit. I feel like, his passion for film made him proper. The game released in 1987 and was a pretty modest hit. Now, once it released, Akamatsu was back in the director's chair for the follow-up to his big hit. However, Akamatsu wasn't really satisfied with just rehashing what he'd done in Castlevania before. So, Simon's quest needed to be something completely different, something that just made it stand out. So instead of a haunted house theme he kind of chose to turn this platformer into a sprawling RPG, kind of in the vein of the original. So elements that would kind of carry over, but then you could do something different. Mm-hmm. And while this was a unique approach, it also kind of left a bad impression on players due to the confusing nature of the game's puzzles. This is even more frustrating to Western audiences, as the translation team did a piss-poor job at interpretation and left many befuddled. In fact, some of the NPCs flat out lied to your face.
What? Like,
Yes.
it was translated that poorly?
Yes.
No wonder we had trouble then.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And in fact, this was so bad, we did a parody of it in the 3rd episode of Super Mega Crash Adventure. So go check that out if you haven't for some reason. Because we used a lot of that dialogue. Luckily, this misstep wasn't a massive disaster. And it even inspired Koji Igarashi's Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which is a very popular game. Mm-hmm. However, Akamatsu wasn't really rushing back to the franchise. You know, it was just kind of like a disappointment. So after Simon's Quest, he contributed to a few other games like Dragon Scroll and Metal Gear 2 Snake's Revenge. Mm-hmm. And like all things, you return to that which you love. And in 1989, Akamatsu returned to Castlevania for a 3rd entry, Dracula's Curse. This is a prequel, unlike the other game, despite it being labeled 3. So just, don't get... Because when I see part 3, I'm assuming we're stepping forward.
Continuation.
Not going backwards.
2. Yeah.
But no, this is a prequel. So anyway, it's not the last time you'll ever see that shit happen either. Learning from previous games, he combined elements from part 1 and from part 2 to once again create something unique. This time, instead of playing just as the ancestor Trevor Belmont, you could choose from a variety of characters, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. Now, much like the American version of Super Mario Bros. 2, aka Yumi Kojo Doki Doki Panic, which we all know,
Yep.
the game presented a selection of characters with unique abilities. So Trevor plays very much like Simon Belmont before him. Sifa has a weak physical attack power, but a very powerful elemental magic spell. Grant can climb on walls. He can change direction mid-jump, which was something never before seen at games, or in games at that time. And then you had Alucard, who could shoot fireballs and transform into a bat. So, a lot of variety. And I remember reading about this in Nintendo Power at the time going, holy crap, the things you could do, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I know it seems very, very simplistic by today's...
see these things as it evolved.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
You're sitting there telling me I can choose all these different characters and they all have different abilities. Holy shit, dude. I'm so in. Because that changes how you play the game.
Yeah.
How you can approach. And that's even part of the fun of the game. Because the mechanics were described as you have Trevor and then you take a companion. And then you have these multiple paths in which you can go down. And depending on the characters you have, that's how you get there. So it's your way of playing. And that's something, again, we had not really seen at that time. Everything was so linear. So he gave you options. And whatever works best for you. I mean, and that's so wonderful. And I don't think... Thinking about it now, I don't remember, or I can't think of a game in recent memory where the game's mechanics just brought something new to the table that I was just like, holy shit, I have to play this game.
Yeah.
Like really thinking back on it, games like that, the last game, I mean, because I was even thinking of other games that I was kind of excited about, kind of like, oh shit, what's the name of the shark game?
Maneater?
Maneater, yes. Yes, I was excited to play the game. And I don't really know if it was the mechanics per se. It was just, you're saying I get to play as a shark.
Right.
That's not really a mechanic in my head. You know what I mean?
That's just a new protagonist.
Yeah, so your setting's different. I get to play as a shark. And that's what excites me about that. So not the mechanic.
You just like a new niche, someone bringing something new to the table. Yeah.
As far as mechanics go, and I really try to dig, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I was trying to think the last time I remember reading deeply about a game's mechanics that I was just like, oh my God, I cannot wait. Mm-hmm. Spider-Man 2, based on the movie. Because this was the first time they said, we're building New York City. You were going to get to swing through New York City. And I'm sitting here reading this going, are you shitting me?
Right?
I get to roam. I get to swing around New York City as Spider-Man. Oh my God. Like the excitement. I play that game so much.
Oh, yeah.
Because
half the time all I would do is just swing around because I can.
Yeah, because you can.
It was just fun, yeah.
And guess what? It's still fun to this day. Like I'll sometimes play Insomniac Spider-Man, just because I want to go web swinging.
Yeah,
for no other reason. Yeah. And all they've done is get better in each interpretation. That's what I give props.
They're working on another one too, ain't they?
Yeah. So I give them props for every developer who's taken that formula. From where Treyarch started and then where they've gotten to now. I mean, that to me was just like groundbreaking. Yeah. So I was so excited. Anyway, this new formula paid off because we're not talking about Spider-Man. And it revitalized the franchise. Critics, players alike, they praised this entry and it became a fan favorite of the franchise. And in fact, he put in, like if you've ever played the game, you'll see like the video footage, like the film strip edges during certain clips and stuff like that. That's, again, applying his love for film and that genre. Mm-hmm. And so much of this game became the basis for the recent Netflix series, Castlevania. I mean, this is where it pulled from. Okay? So it was huge.
Yeah.
But Konami didn't see it that way.
God damn it.
You see, there was this other game that came out around the same time, and it featured these characters that were really popular at the time. They were kind of green. They fought with ninja skills. They loved pizza. You may have heard of this passing fad called the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I think so.
Yeah.
That actually does sound familiar. Yeah.
Konami had this, they had licensed this IP and they produced a game under its Ultra label and it did like so well, even though people hated the mechanics of the game. And it was doing so much better than this Castlevania thing. I mean, that's old news.
Yeah, we're moving on. Yeah.
Ninja Turtles, that's the way to go. So during this period, Akamatsu left the console division and he returned back to arcades. Okay. There was some speculation about this. Some stated that he was unhappy that his creation was just suddenly brushed aside and underappreciated because the company was like, Ninja Turtles, man.
Yeah.
Fuck Castlevania, Ninja Turtles. And, it felt like you put your heart and soul into something and no one gave a damn. I feel that 100%.
Yeah.
Others have said that this move was a punishment from Konami because his game underperformed. But that also feels kind of unfair because it's not his fault that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are more popular.
Yeah, it sounds like just bad luck. But
so
really.
I personally would like to believe that he just, he moved away. I mean, if I'm not saying Konami is great. We'll get to that. I just... based on the way it's kind of, I think I would have been a little disillusioned and be like,
Yeah.
Anyway, you may be noticing a pattern in much of my reporting here that I've not been entirely definitive about certain moments of Akamatsu's history. Mm-hmm. Well, this is because after his move back to arcade games, Akamatsu seemed to have very little drive. He even abruptly exited a project while still in development and became a clerk at Konami, at a Konami game center. Huh. He just said, I'm out.
I would rather just go
be a clerk. Why not?
I don't want to make them anymore. I just want to sell them.
And then in 1997, he found his way back to directing games, new games with an unknown game developer. Now, I say unknown because I have never heard of this company. And I did not want to attempt pronouncing their name. So, anyway, if Akamatsu moved on to this unknown company. But if you want to go look them up, they made this game called The Way of Fishing. It's a whole series of games.
Sounds exciting.
Oh, yes. It's a fishing simulator that came out for the PlayStation, and it was like their specialty. The Way of Fishing was their game. And, oh man, they made quite a few. Akamatsu remained with this unknown company for several years. Then suddenly he just up and left the business in the early 2000s.
Ah.
And since then, no one has heard of him.
Really?
No one knows where he is. No one knows how to get in touch with him. That's why
unless he'd be too old by now. Would it be realistic for him to have passed by old age?
I mean, it's possible, but I don't think he's much older than a lot of the other guys in the business right now.
Oh, okay.
He would be his 50s, 60s. So, I mean, again, it's not unheard of because we've lost a few already, but but I feel like we would have heard. You know, his name is out there, so we know his name. But as I say that, this seems to be why there is no official record of the development history of Castlevania. Why there is nothing in great detail, because the snippets that are out there are from people who knew him and were maybe kind of sort of involved, but they weren't the driving force behind it. He was the driving force behind the game. And from the story presented, I tend to believe this is a man who put everything into a project, into this series, and just watch it go and appreciate it 3 different times. Because the first game, it wasn't a bad hit, it wasn't a huge hit. It was a game that came out and people was like, oh yeah, I played that. But it wasn't like this massive hit. But enough of a hit to be like, okay, well, let's do another one. Let's see how it goes. And then he tries something new. And what happens? Don't like it because it's too different. I don't like different. And then you do a third one. You kind of go back to the roots of that and you try new mechanics and you try to introduce things that worked in the last game, things that didn't work, and take that stuff out. And you try to do something wholly unique. Mm-hmm. And then it gets overshadowed by fucking Ninja Turtles.
True. I mean, in that moment, I'd probably be a little pissed off. Like, mine's a creative vision.
So, in my opinion, I feel like he became disillusioned with the industry and said to hell with it. I hope that over the decades, he has seen how his creation has grown and see that fans love his games and that it spawned other games. Like his passion, his desire built a franchise that still exists to this day. There have been terrible games, don't get me wrong, but they were not his. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people have found a newfound appreciation for Simon's Quest. Yeah. It does have its faults, but I think people have... That's not his fault. You know, the translation team, that wasn't him.
Yeah, you definitely need good localization or, know, so people can understand how to play your game.
Akamatsu-san. Mm-hmm. We featured it in that episode. I mentioned your game, your creation. Yeah. That was the basis of that episode. Mm-hmm. That is a love letter, if anything, because we utilize so many different details.
Yep. And it's just a fun episode.
Mm-hmm. The fact that the title of his game is one half of a name of a gaming genre should prove the legacy of the creation he made. Mm-hmm. Metroidvania wouldn't exist without Castlevania.
Yeah.
One half. So Hitoshi Akamatsu, wherever you are in this world, you know, if this should get to you by some sheer coincidence, or sheer force of will, I will it. Thank you for Castlevania. The industry is better because of your contributions to it, not what Konami has chosen to do with it.
And continues to do with other other names they have.
Yeah. I'm sure he didn't get a dime out of that anniversary collection.
Oh, probably not.
But again, I mean, they could just be like, well, we don't know where he's at, so we can't send him a check.
Well, I mean, there's that probably too.
But still, do you think Konami would...
actively go out of their way to try to do it? No.
Hell no.
No.
Anyway, but yes, there it is, everyone. A little...
Thank you. I hope you're doing well also, because I can remember playing a lot of Castlevania. And in fact, I remember in the 3rd grade having to spend like a couple days in the hospital, and they wheeled me in a TV with a Nintendo, and I played me some Castlevania.
All right.
So it helped me pass the time while I was sick and in the hospital in like the 3rd grade. So it was great.
Nice.
I think it was 3rd grade. I don't know. I was little.
And some moments like that, I wish we could get sick and just stay home and play video games. But not that I want to be sick.
I was really happy the hospital had a TV and a game station to like wheel in, because we were still back on like CRT TVs, you know? So it's just like bringing that whole thing in.
Hey, we just got to get to November, baby. I'm just so ready for a break. Anyway, continue.
Ready. You'll get it. Anyway, well, that's our show. Then you can hit us up sometime on Twitter at Super Mega Crash, or go over to Instagram to view the weekly icon art Steven puts his time and love into. You can send an email at supermegacrash at, I should say two, right? That's grammatically really was hard to say. Email to supermegacrash at gmail.com. Maybe? I don't know. You can support the show by liking and leaving reviews on your preferred podcast app, and even by going to patreon.com/pencil and paper productions. And go on over to youtube.com/pencil and paper productions for just more fun entertainment. And we're getting better at Discord, and you can help make us great by coming on over. Links are in the description below. So thank you so much for listening. I am Lacey Finley.
I'm Stephen White.
And you can join us again next time, Super Mega Crash siblings. But until then,
game on.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.